there's a part of me that really just wants to be done with season 3. It's like I just want it. It's we've drawn it out so long.
I know. And I was looking through because I was just kind of using like the Netflix summaries and stuff to refresh my memory, and I'm like, really? It was
What?
then? Seven Deadly Sins was just season 3? But that feels
Yeah.
like a year ago.
A year ago, right?
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Salt and Burn This, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Sammy.
I'm Valerie.
Thank you so much for being so patient with us while we went on an unscheduled hiatus.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh boy, it was a little rough.
Ay, ay, ay. I mean, we tried so hard.
Oh my God. I had a
to-
plan, right? Remember, I was like, this is what we are going to do.
Yep. These are the dates. This is how we're going to do it. Yep.
And then COVID had other plans.
COVID, work, and then I got sick.
Yeah.
And now I'm like literally jumping into a new project, which is gonna toss things a little bit, not quite
a little
as
bit,
much.
but we have a few pre-recorded, so we'll be okay. Because we knew shit like this was going to happen, but then the wrap-up happened, and I was like, oh no.
I feel so bad that we waited so long, but it was, I want to admit though, we tried.
Oh yeah.
We tried.
We really did, but I physically could not speak because my throat, I sounded like this, for 2.5 weeks.
I remember talking to you just after you started speaking again. I'm like, oh, it's very sexy.
It is, yes. It's still even a little bit
it's a little baritone-y.
A little, and I'm not mad about it. If my speaking voice could stay like this, and then I can get my singing voice back on track to where it was, that's like the perfect pairing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can I ask you about your show?
Yes, you can.
How was your show, Sammy?
It's going very well.
And is it your first venture into performing in how many years?
At least 10. It's been at least 10 years. I think the last time I performed as in sang in something and was not just a supernumerary.
Yes.
Supernumerary.
Supernumerary.
Was, I think, Hawaii was...
Really?
show, when Mark was there, when Mark was directing that little showcase thing.
The showcase. The Glee.
No, the Glee was the year before, and then Mark came.
Oh,
this was before
he did a scenes program.
Yes, because this is before they decided to let's just do a musical,
right?
Instead of
scenes,
just scenes,
a
cabaret kind of show.
Yeah. Mark was so good.
Mark is the best, and I know he's not listening, but Mark, in case you are the best, and we love you. And oh my God, the best,
Mark Lamanna, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. But yeah, since then, which I think has been, at least 10 years. I don't even know the year off the top of my head. But
feel good to be back treading the boards.
Oh my God, it really feels good.
Yay.
It was exactly what I needed. Like, it's brought my social life back into semblance of some kind of social life.
Peopling.
Yes, I'm peopling again, and it feels good. It's like, oh, I don't feel so awkward anymore, because I did for the first 2 or 3 weeks. I was like, everybody hates me, nobody likes me, everybody hates me. Guess I'll go eat worm. But I love everybody in the cast. It's really like one of those things that everybody wants to do this well. And it's just like, we need to, we're going to do the best that we can in the circumstances that we have, because it was rough. Half the cast got COVID. One had to excuse himself because he was not recovering as fast. And we threw in somebody who is, I have to say, the shining moment of the show. He's so hilarious. We're all just like, oh my God, who is this guy? But it's called The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which is
like a murder mystery?
Kind of, yeah. It's Charles Dickens started to write this book. It's like but he died before he could finish it. So then Rupert Holmes, who is the guy who wrote "If You Like Pina Coladas" and "Walks in the Rain,"
Yep.
he wrote the books, the lyrics, the music. Like, he wrote this entire thing, and he made it kind of a show within a show. And I know there's a term for it, and I should be better and know the right term.
Oh, like a show within a show, yeah.
Like a vaudevillian kind of thing where you break the fourth wall all the time. You know, it's just like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Royal Music Hall Royale as we put on this performance for you. And it's a little bit, you know, overacty a little bit, but in a fun way and purposefully cheesy. And because he never finished the book, the ending is open-ended. So it's a choose-your-own-adventure story. So the audience gets to vote on who they think the murderer is going to be, and the ending is different every single night.
Wow.
They vote for 3 different scenarios. One, there's this detective that's like running around in disguise, and it's, you know, obvious it's supposed to be a character that we've already met before, but then the audience votes on who that character is. Gotcha. They vote on who the murderer is, and they vote on who gets to fall in love with each other.
Is it ever you?
No, I'm just the ensemble, so it's just the principal characters get chosen.
Like, are you one of the options? No.
I am not. Nope, I just sit there and react to everything like, oh my god. But the lover scene is by far my favorite because that's when it really gets loose. You know, like because sometimes it's ridiculous. Sometimes people could choose. It hasn't happened yet, but I know it happened a lot on the Broadway revival. There's a brother and sister in the show, and sometimes just to like fuck with them would choose the brother and sister to fall in love with each other. And there's a whole like a little script, you know, or you know, phrasing on what they're supposed to say. It's like, but that hasn't happened yet, so I don't know what that is. There's been a few times where I'm like, oh, I've never heard this part before. You know? last night, which was our 6th show, an ending that had happened that hadn't been rehearsed before happened. It was like, oh, this is new dialogue for us that we haven't heard before. It's great.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so great.
It's really fun.
What a fun show to like get back into it with, you know?
Yeah.
So, because I have to say the last 2 years of when we started performing again, everything, now granted I do work in opera, but everything has been death and depressing. And,
right.
I mean, there is such thing as buffo, you know, opera buffo. There is funny opera, and there is
Barbara
uplifting. Figaro. There is uplifting stuff out there. Don Pasquale, Merry Widow. I mean, and nobody's doing it. It's like every show, I'm just like, can't we please do something fun
and fluffy and
so, yes, and just silly. But so I'm happy for you on so many levels. I'm on so many levels. I'm happy for you. I am bummed out that I don't get to see it. I am truly sorry, but I heard you are fantastic.
Oh, so. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about season 3 of Supernatural.
That is what this podcast is about, is Le Supernatural. All right. Yeah. So this episode is our season 3 wrap up, which we just kind of consolidate all of the things, all of the hours that we have wasted
that we've inflicted upon you, and now we're just gonna make sure you are really listening to the last 16 episodes.
Could we do this? Could this just be the podcast? Sure, but then that would last only 15 episodes, and where's the fun in that?
Right. So we just spoke about it, that this season was only 16 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be 22, but they were interrupted by the writer's strike.
Yep.
So we lost some episodes. I think we also lost a little bit of momentum. Just a little bit. I'm not going to say really, it wasn't bad, but I think things changed. I think there was a little bit of
And I think the writers would agree with you, honestly, and they would say, "No, yeah, totally, we got off track." Because even Eric Kripke, he admitted, "I just had a baby. I was really distracted with that whole life going on. The strike kind of threw us for a loop. What are we gonna do?" There was a lot of, I guess, inner chaos going on behind the scenes, which kind of made the first several episodes a little bit not cohesive. I guess.
Yeah, there was
bad.
definitely
They're still very enjoyable, but they weren't.
There was a little disconnect. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a little disconnect. Understandably so. Still a very good season. A very good season.
And in fact, I think I read on the Supernatural wiki page that the finale for this season was the most watched finale of all of the finales.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me. Now, and I think about it just because it wasn't my favorite episode, so it's hard for me to equate it to being the most watched season finale. Because when I go back to how powerful the end of the first season was, the way season 1 ended, I was blown away by that ending. But if people weren't watching the show then they didn't see that. If they just tuned in and the audiences got bigger towards, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. And there was a bit of breath holding in this season for like, what happens, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. We have to watch to see what's going to happen.
Yes.
So I get it in that sense, but since it wasn't my favorite episode or one of my favorite episodes, it's hard for me to equate it with the most watched finale.
Right. And that could be, I don't know what statistics they're using. Is that overall? Does that include all of the streaming stuff? Or is it just live statistics? Which I assume it was just live statistics. Because also streaming wasn't in 2007, 2008? Not a huge thing back then. Not like now. Right. So the series finale, I'm sure many people waited until it was on streaming to watch it. So the live numbers, I imagine, did not match up to 2008's numbers. But yes, it's all about Dean's deal. Is or isn't he going to hell? He's only got a year left on his contract. That was the contract, I should say. Was 1 year.
To save Sam. He kissed a crossroads demon and gave up his soul. Well, gave up not only his soul, but his life. He gave up. Yeah. It wasn't just if he dies, he goes to hell. It's in 1 year, you die and go to hell. It's like a double whammy. Right,
because usually the deal is 10 years. So now let's go through the list of the monsters of the week.
I was going to say, can I do notable guest stars first? Because I think... Okay. For me, notable guest stars. These are people that I think I pointed out like, oh my gosh, it's these people, but also just there were some great guest stars. Obviously Jeffrey Dean Morgan as John, always a notable, even though, our love-hate relationship with John ebbs and flows. Still, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I just love him. Jim Beaver, still, Bobby, still a guest star, and Bobby has my heart. Sterling K. Brown as Gordon Walker. Notable. Has another series out. He just started another series.
Yeah, I saw that. What is it?
I've totally forgotten what it is.
Okay, great. That's fine.
I just wanted to point it out that he is just, the working of the workingest out there. Richard Speight Jr., who, a trickster, but also, beloved director and
and maybe showrunner, I think, maybe later, but we'll get to that when we get to
all things Supernatural. Richard Speight Jr. Charles Malik Whitfield, who was Victor Henriksen, whose character, I mean, again, ride the roller coaster with that character. AJ Buckley, who was one of our ghost facers. He was Ed Zedmore. Travis Wester, also a ghost facer, Harry Spangler.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Milligan as Corbett, one of our ghost facers. I love him.
Corbett.
Also, just because I truly fell in love with him on Schitt's Creek. For me, Don S. Davis, who played a very, very small role in Sin City. He was the almost monster.
Oh, he was like the mob guy or something.
He was the mob guy, yeah.
Right.
So those were my standout guest.
Oh my gosh, Sammy, I totally forgot to mention one of my notables, cast member notable, Stephen Williams, who is Rufus. And I think I know why I forgot. I forgot because he wasn't killed off. But he had the best entrance with teaching us all about a Cleveland steamer, although it wasn't him who taught us about the Cleveland steamer. It was Dean. But yeah, Stephen Williams from Stargate, 21 Jump Street, X-Files. I mean, Stephen Williams. All right, Rufus.
Now there were women added to the cast this season, in the shape of Bella and Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
But because they felt to me like they were more cast-y members, like
they were technically main cast.
Yeah, so
and
I
not
didn't really
a guest star or they were recurring characters, but they were in their contracts. I'm sure they were main characters.
Yeah. Now, I know that same thing with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and, Jim Beaver, clearly not guest stars, like write-off characters at this point, but still more meaningful to me than like these two female characters, even though they fairly monumental in the journey of the boys.
I do want to add at least one person to your...
Oh, to my list? Oh, yes. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Mercedes McNabb from the vampire episode, who was Harmony from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was her big thing.
Yes.
Played a vampire again here. She's no longer acting, I believe. She quit that whole industry. Can't quite blame her.
Right. I did have her name written down, but not in that list for some reason.
That's okay. And then we also have, and again, I don't remember her name. I haven't really seen her in much else, to be honest, except for this one little show called, I think it was Reaper, which maybe I talked about during this episode.
I think you
but
did.
the actress who plays Lisa, of the Lisa and Ben pairing.
Yes.
She played a demon lady in this show called Reaper, yes, which was very apropos. Okay,
Lisa.
yes, a good list of guest stars.
Thank you.
This season.
Now, on to the monsters.
On to our monsters and how they meet their demise.
Monsters/villains, or
let's say monsters/villains, because this is kind of the start, I would say, of going from monster of the week to just the big bad,
Yes. Characters, not necessarily.
Yes. Right, because when we do this for season 4, the list is going to be a lot shorter. You know what I mean? Okay, so for our first episode, we had demons, but specifically the 7 deadly sins in demonic form. A very cool concept. Really enjoyed that spin on demons. They met their demise by a variety of trappings, such as demon traps, holy water baths, exorcisms, Ruby's knife.
Yep.
And that was also our intro to Ruby herself and her knife.
And her knife.
Episode 2, The Kids Are All Right, we had something called a changeling, which was a creepy kid, one of many of this season. These were particularly sucker face.
That's exactly what I wrote down. I said the suck face kids.
And they were vanquished by killing the mother changeling.
Right, and how was she killed?
Fire? Was it fire? Okay. I didn't ever write that down. I just knew that they all
remember that line of Dean saying, "Sure, all we have to do is drag these kids out onto the street and set them on fire.
Oh,
that's going
right.
to go over real well with the neighbors."
That's right.
That's all we got to do.
Fire,
is drag these
yes,
kids out.
fire was their, like, that's the way that you kill them. You are
Yep.
correct. I didn't do very good homework here.
No, you're fine.
Bad Day at Black Rock. Our villain was a rabbit foot.
But also
a cursed rabbit foot that came from a cursed box. And it also met its demise by fire.
yes,
A special kind of fire, like a
ritualistic in a
yes.
cemetery under a full moon type of fire.
Yes.
But see, but I also meant was, but there was also a villain in this episode.
Yes, and I know what you're getting at. Is like that was our introduction to Bella.
Spell.
Didn't she use her last name as Lugosi or something like that?
Yes,
I think that was like her main alias was Bella Lugosi,
Bela Lugosi.
which I love.
Yes.
She was a
like a
foe.
Yes, not a villain, but definitely like a nemesis.
Yes, a wrench in the whole of things,
Yes.
but a nemesis. Yeah.
She
But
did
that was
shoot-
the
she did
introduction
shoot
to
Sam.
she did, as a friendly fire question mark. Yes, our introduction to Bella and also the infamous shoe scene. That
I lost
a
my
shoe. Oh, the return of Gordon. We see Gordon again in this
Oh.
because he was like chasing down. I guess there's like three nemesis in this.
Yep.
The Rabbitfoot, Bella, and Gordon. There's like everybody was going after
Everything was against them.
Sam.
Yeah.
Mhm. In Sin City, we had demons yet again, but particularly like sinful ones or mobster demons.
Yeah.
They died by the cult because Ruby came into play and said, "This is how you make the bullets for the
Yep.
cult." And now it's like a super awesome weapon that you can use at any time.
Anytime you can shoot all the bullets you want to shoot as long as you keep making them like this.
Yes, and we never learn how that is, but they know, and I guess that's all that's important. Bedtime stories. We had figments of the imagination that were manifested by a young lady in a coma, being fueled by some Grimm's fairy tales.
Like, it was kind of like
That was a hard one to pinpoint as
it was kind of like a vengeance spirit. The girl wasn't dead, but her spirit was out there manifesting as like the big bad wolf and
yes, Hansel and Gretel's
Hansel
witch.
and Gretel, yeah. But she wasn't dead, so it wasn't a ghost, but maybe it was a spirit, but it was still a vengeful spirit. And
yes, this was
but
a
she
really,
wasn't-
really
yeah.
tricky and intricate kind of monster, which was
Yeah.
nice, I have to say.
Yeah.
However,
Well,
it was not nice that they were vanquished by her just dying or letting her go.
Letting
It's just
go.
like, okay,
Yeah.
you're in a coma. You're probably not going to get out of the coma. Let's just,
right. Well, someone had to learn her truth. That's what it was. Is somebody
Yes.
had to, hear her.
He had to learn the truth.
The dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dad had to hear her truth, and that's what released her from the spiral that her spirit was taking. It was getting,
Right.
more and more vengeful, more and more evil, which is what they say happens when you're stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
even though she wasn't dead. Okay.
Right.
Little loophole there for coma spirits.
Yeah. Red Sky at Morning. The hand, that creepy hand, and I forgot what it was called.
Oh,
the hand of glory?
Glory. It was something disgusting. Like, yes.
Also, Bella shows up again as their nemesis for this is number 2 appearance of Bella, I believe.
Yeah.
And that got resolved by a ghost fight. They summoned the ghost of whoever
His brother.
The brother, because
Yeah.
he was the one that
He's the one who killed him. His brother is the one who killed him, hanged him for treason.
He betrayed him. Yes.
Yeah, hanged him for treason.
So then they fought themselves into non-existence.
Watery explosion.
I guess.
Now, wasn't there also in this episode a death omen? the ship appears, the ghost ship appears to people who are going to die.
Yeah.
So anyone who sees that ship is then visited by the ghost brother, by the water brother.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be considered a monster, but it was a death omen.
It was definitely like a supernatural thing, right? It's like,
yeah, I mean, absolutely, because it was all part of the tale, though. Because if you didn't see the ship, then you weren't visited by the brother who then killed you in a dry drowning.
Right. Yeah, they were kind of like tied together.
Yeah, which were all pretty cool. I think in this episode, the effects
were very cool.
Very cool.
I agree. They kind of made up for the lack of
story.
All right. Monster number 7, fresh blood. We have your good old vampires, but then we get a little twisty twist where Gordon himself, our second appearance in this season of Gordon, gets turned into a vampire himself.
Yeah, and
he is deadened by decapitation, specifically garroting.
With like razor wire.
Yes.
Like by hand.
Yes.
Yeah. And but that's Harmony, not Harmony, the character.
Mercedes.
Thank you. She was macheted, right? She had her head cut off. Yeah. So
she was in the opening bit, of like, oh, there are vampires here. Yeah. This is the theme of today's episode.
It was just so sad because she didn't know she was a vampire. I think that's what made her character so compelling.
It did.
Like, wait,
it's
what?
Just like, yes. It's like, oh my God, I'm just getting murdered here for no reason. Poorly. Okay, and then number 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas. We get pagan anti-Santa Clauses. Anti-Claus? Anti-Santas?
Anti-Claus? Well, they were gods, though, right? Or like Norse gods?
They were pagan gods.
Pagan gods.
And I didn't have like my notes that I had taken on the episode on me.
Uh-huh.
And I did kind of look through Supernatural Wiki. They didn't give a name to these. They just said pagan anti-Santa gods that needed ritualistic sacrifices.
They named everything else like what they could have been during the episode, but they didn't name what they actually were.
Exactly. Yes.
Which is kind of funny.
Yes, yeah, because remember I came back and it was just like, oh, they named it something and it was from The Office. Yeah. Like there was an Office episode where they did a bit on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like Madge and Ed or something like that.
Yeah.
What were their
something
names?
The Carrigans. I know they were the Carrigans.
Yes.
Madge, yes, that sounds familiar. I don't remember.
Madge and Ed. Carrigan.
Ed. Oh, great.
Yep.
Did it.
Yes.
So they died by getting an evergreen stake through their heart.
Christmas tree stabbings.
In the Christmas tree they had in their house, which is a good point you brought up. It's like, why would they have that?
That's the one
in their
thing
own
that
house?
can kill you. Why would you have that in your house?
This also notably is the first time they did like a special splash. A special title splash.
Yes,
the first like holiday theme episode they did. It also is the origin of the Samulet, because that's when they did all the flashbacks of the.
See, now I said there weren't any decent props in this season.
Oh yeah, the Samulet.
It's because the Samulet. Right.
I mean, that's the only time it gets featured, but that's where they show how Dean got it, what it means to him, and they got it from Bobby, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, number 9, Malleus Maleficarum. Our villains are witches / demons / hexbags, but they are a prop of the witches / demons, so there's a mixture of things going on here.
Yeah.
But all of it gets destroyed by Ruby's knife, so...
Ta-da!
Woohoo!
Ta-da! One thing I loved about the witches is that they were just trying to get, like, better mortgage rates.
Right. Or, like, win a pottery contest, right? It was
Right.
First place in pottery. Also, significantly, this is where Dean first meets Ruby. And I think this is also the first appearance of hex bags. I think this was the first time that the concept of the hex bag was thrown into the universe, which then becomes very useful or like played throughout.
Yes.
I really like the concept of the hex bag. I like that prop and that idea and that theory. It's really cool. Dream a Little Dream, number 10. That's a little tricky because it is a human, but fueled by kind of a supernatural potion of African dream root. Because he is just a guy. He's just a guy that takes a potion or an herb juice and learns to manipulate it.
So that he can travel into your dreams.
Yes, and kill you. If he wants to.
Yikes.
But then he is killed by Sam. And that was always kind of left open-ended. It's just like, oh, I guess the dreamer didn't really affect me. Shrug. Right?
Yep.
Also notable is Bella shows up again. We have that cute little dream sequence of Sam, what he dreams about at night.
Yes. That was very funny.
She takes the cult away. So there's another wrench in the plot there.
Yep, she steals the cult from under their noses.
I know. So they only got to use it a couple times.
And they lost
this season, and now it's gone again.
Yep.
Number 11, Mystery Spot. Iconic. Our villain is the trickster. He does not get vanquished because he is the trickster, but he kind of fixes things himself. I guess he gets threatened by the pokey thing, the sharpened steak of blood.
With blood on it. We're both gesturing and saying the exact same thing. We are really good at
this.
Yes. We are super fans.
Yes.
The stabby pokey thing dipped in blood.
So again, the second appearance of Richard Speight Jr., the second appearance of the trickster.
Poor Dean is the physical recipient of the trickster's evilness.
Yeah.
Truth be told, it's Sam who does most of the suffering because he has to watch this over and over and over again.
Yeah. Dean has no recollection, but Sam has to remember everything. Number 12, Juice in Bello. We have all of the demons, specifically the big bad demon, Lilith. She gets introduced in this. First by just name, and then later by physically showing up. Yeah,
and she's a white-eyed demon.
Yes,
as opposed to a black-eyed demon.
Yes,
so she's the big bad, as she's been called through all the way up to this.
Yeah,
the big bad, and now we see her.
And she is a child. Surprise, surprise. But all the other demons, they do get vanquished by tricksy exorcism over the intercom. Which is very cool. This is also where Victor Henriksen gets
his demise.
Also notable, this was perhaps could have been season 3 finale, depending on where the writer's strike ended up.
Right.
Thankfully, the strike resolved itself in time, and they were able to come back for 4 more episodes. First one of those being Ghostfacers.
Ghostfacers.
Yes, where our monster was a ghost, and he is vanquished by the death echo of Pearl Corbett, where he was killed by the ghost. This is the second appearance of the Ghostfacers, but with a new name. This is also the second time the splash or the intro is different than per usual.
Than Supernatural. Yep.
Yes. Number 14.
They're no longer the Hellhounds.
Yes. Long Distance Call. The monster, and this is the first time in a bit, right, in the season where it's an actual kind of solid monster, or a new monster.
Yes. Yes. The
Crocata. Cuckoo-Cachoo. Yes. The infamous Cuckoo-Cachoo. Also known as the Crocata, not a sandwich. He is killed by getting a spike through his head, neck. Head injury.
On a pegboard.
Yes.
It's You hang some cables or your crocata.
Crocata. And this is where Dad has returned, at least just his voice.
Yes.
Number 15, the penultimate episode of season 3. Time is on my side. We have an evil alchemist, Dr. Frankenstein type of guy, who Frankenstein's himself. Yeah. Yep. And he's not really killed, but he's at least put away by being buried alive.
Because...
Yeah, he was vanquished because he's not getting out of that anytime soon. At least we can hope, by being buried alive.
In a refrigerator.
Yes. Yeah. Also, I think in her apex nemesis is Bella. She is a nemesis in this for sure, as in she comes in to kill Sam and Dean and fails herself. Because they see what she's about to do. And this is the last that we see of poor old Bella, because we learn that she has done an old demon deal 10 years ago.
Yep.
And now she's gone.
Unfortunately, Sam and Dean don't know what she went through and why she made the deal. So it's kind of heartbreaking on both sides.
Yeah. Just like you, I also forgot about Rufus. I don't know what's wrong with us because he's so iconic, but I do know he's going to come up a lot later. But this is the episode in which he first appears with his legendary Johnny Walker Blue. And yeah, we're going to see a lot more of Rufus. This was just a little taste. And how dare both of us for forgetting.
I forgot to ask you what the crocata, going back one, what the crocata was.
Like, right. He was like a voice mimicker. Or just like a mimicker in general. So it started off, he would like mimic the sound of your loved ones in the forest. Like, oh no, I'm lost in the forest. Come help me. But then as technology evolved, so did he. And then he used his mimicry powers into phone calls, the internet, other things of technology.
People to kill themselves.
Yes. That was the monster that there really wasn't a lot of lore on, that even the writers were like, should we even use this? There's like, I don't even know how to do this. There's so little. But they did, and I do think that they made it work.
Cool.
Finally, episode 16, No Rest for the Wicked. Our big bad is the big bad, which is Lilith and her hellhounds. She does not get vanquished. She just runs away because she cannot kill Sam, and she is terrified of him for whatever reason. ...
Yep.
However, this is where Dean does die for real.
Yep. And
ends up in hell.
Right.
The end
via
of season 3.
Hellhound Express.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our monster breakdown.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. I can just hit on a couple of weapons that were used this season. There were a lot of guns, so I'm not going to go into every gun that the Winchesters had their hands on. I'm just not going to do that. But the Colt is back, obviously, as we stated. The Demon Blade is introduced and used with frequency. A pegboard was used for the crocata. I did write down the wooden stake dipped in blood thing, although it wasn't used. It was, seen. The refrigerator was used as a weapon. The barbed wire, razor wire to cut off. The
refrigerator was used as a weapon.
Well, that's what they buried the Frankenstein guy in.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yes.
Machete was used quite a bit. Holy water, exorcism. I don't think there was anything else specifically. So that was, can you think of anything else weapon-wise?
No, did you get Ruby's knife? Did you throw them?
Yeah, the demon killing blade. Yeah, that was in there.
Yeah, that's
Well, since you were talking about the monsters and how they were killed, I have a list of like other notable deaths.
Yeah.
And then I also did a tally.
Yes.
Of
love that.
Who Sam killed and who Dean killed. And do you want to take a guess who killed the most?
I'm going to say I'm going to say Sam.
You would be correct.
Nice.
You would be correct. Now, I did not do a body by body count, especially in like the police station. I did not count all of those deeds.
Right. I was even just kind of like, when I got to that, I was like, oh, if we're going to, no. He killed like 20 people in one go. Sam did. So,
yeah. So I'm excluding that.
Yeah.
But the list of Sam killed, and you mentioned a lot of these. Sam killed the changeling's mother with a flamethrower. Father Gil, he shot with the cult. Mm-hmm. Casey, he shot with the cult. The Crossroads demon, he shot in the head with the cult.
The end of bedtime stories.
Gordon Walker, he garroted with the razor wire and his bare hands. Madge Kerrigan stabbed her with a Christmas tree a couple of times. Jeremy Frost, the Dreamweaver guy, he beat to death with a baseball bat. That was a big one. And the Crocata guy, it's gonna be different every time. It's a stupid name for a monster. Okay, it's a stupid name for a monster. He killed him with the bulletin board. So that's, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notables.
Yep. Okay. 8. That's what I got. It was 8.
Okay. Dean killed Lucy, aka Harmony, with the machete. The vampire, when he was trapped in the room with the vampire, he killed her with a Colt. Ed Kerrigan, he stabbed several times with a Christmas tree. The witch demon, the demon who was just in disguise as a witch, Tammy, killed her with the demon blade. So Dean also killed like some of the 7 deadly sins, but I didn't count them. Yeah, because that was kind of a mutual handoff. So 1, 2, 3, 4 notable kills
versus 8.
Yep. Wow. Now, notable deaths. Now these, some of these were just my notable deaths. Obviously, Dean dying 11 times in one episode, quite notable, as well as his final death.
Particularly the piano decapitation. Or the desk decapitation.
When you told me to go back and watch it and watch his head pop off, that was
there was
amazing.
Somebody else. I think it was oh God, I can't like off the top of my head remember. She does like the beer, the Hops Geek podcast. I think she also mentioned, it's like, oh my God, I also had never mentioned, I've seen that before until you mentioned it.
In the there was in the 7 Deadly Sins episode, when those 2 women were fighting over the shoes out in the street, one of them gets her head slammed into her head slams into the windshield of the car, her eyeball pops out. Which
oh my God, I didn't see that.
So, another notable death, Bad Day at Black Rock, Wayne, who trips and falls backwards onto the barbecue fork.
Right, yeah.
That was particularly jarring, I will just say.
Yes.
But so supernatural going forward.
Yeah. Yes, I think that definitely set the tone for how the gory things happen. And it was like, I think I was calling them Kripke gamble moments, because the both of them together are like the more gore, the better.
They're crazy.
They're a dangerous pair, those two.
One of the deaths that we talked about a lot, or we stood on it for a little bit, was in Bedtime Stories with the grandma who stabs Ken, like slices Ken's neck and then just like gleefully stabs him to death in front of the girlfriend.
Yes.
Like, boop, 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 boop. Yep. So, the Ghost Ship brothers, their coming together explosion was just tremendous. And Gordon kills Kubrick by tearing out his heart. Remember so it was like
Kubrick.
Twofold there. That it's Gordon killing Kubrick, and then also the fact that Gordon literally punched a hole into his chest and tore his heart out. Those to me were the notables.
Right.
for several reasons. Obviously, there were more deaths, there were bigger deaths, but for me, those were my notables.
The ones that stick in your brain.
Yeah. And of course, the stupid song from Time on My Side is what's running through my head for all of season 3. All of it. Every moment of doing this rewatch. Time is on my side. Oh, big deaths, big character deaths of people we said goodbye to. Obviously, Bella, Special Agent Henry. Henry, Victor Henriksen.
Yes.
Heartbreaking. Gordon, and then Dean. Those were big deaths.
Yeah, and Corbett.
Oh, Corbett. I have a list of motels and locations.
Yes, I love that.
Okay.
The season 3 road trip.
Your season 3 road trip. Close the door. Come on in. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you're recording, but there's a handful of episodes where they didn't go anywhere, or they weren't anywhere notable. That
right. There was no chyron that said we are here.
Right. Exactly. So, in order, Magnificent Seven is in Oak Park, Illinois. They were not in a motel. They were in Tamara and Isaac's creepy house overfilled house, Hunter house. Yeah. Episode 2, The Kids Are All Right, is in Cicero, Indiana. They were in Cicero Pines Motel, and that was that gold red motel, and it had that really weird big flower box in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Because it had garden flowers in this flower box. Bad Day at Black Rock was obviously in Black Rock at the City Center Motel, and that was the motel that Dean left Sam in to keep Sam from hurting himself.
The blue one. It was the blue one, right?
It was the blue room with all the circles. The room divider was circled. It was to get to the bathroom, you went through a big circle wall, hole in the wall. And I read, I hate to say this, but that it's a little too on the nose for me that it was supposed to be leaving Sam in this little bubble that was about to burst was their motivation behind that.
I see.
Wow, okay. That is right on the nose. Yeah, but blue and silver. It's one where he sets himself on fire accidentally.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Come on.
I'm just sitting here not doing anything. Yeah.
Don't even scratch your nose. Yeah. All right. So 4, Sin City is in Elizabeth, Ohio.
That's right.
There was no name on this motel, but it was a typical mirrors on the ceilings. It had a couple of throwback genie lamp hanging downs as the room dividers.
The genies, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was that the magic fingers also?
No.
Yes. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't magic fingers. No, it was the forget about it guy.
Forget about it. I think there was a magic fingers there, but it never got used because Magic Fingers was in the season prior. Remember when Dean had to be shut in after they got caught by the FBI, and he was really indulging in the Magic Fingers. There was an episode in this season. I would assume it's this one, considering all of the other things that are going on in it. Yeah. Where he spots a Magic Fingers on the bed and is like, yes, the Magic Fingers. But it never gets used again.
Never gets used. Okay. Episode 5, Bedtime Stories, takes place in Maple Springs, New York. No name again. And this was a really simple motel room. But it did have on the bedside table was a lamp that was, a lamp, but within the lamp, it had another genie-esque bulb in it. There's some research about the reusing of headboards and stuff like that. I don't care about that. If it's something big and noticeable, I'll be like, it's the deer head again, which there are a couple of those.
Or the starburst. And
yes, exactly. So there's a couple of those in here.
Right. The other things are just how can we keep to budget?
Right. Okay, 6, Red Sky at Morning. It takes place in Massachusetts. Not in a hotel. They're squatting in an abandoned house.
Yeah.
Because that's where Bella makes fun of them for squatting.
Yes. Yes. It's like, really?
House.
This is what you can afford.
Yeah. Episode 7, Fresh Blood, New York State. No name motel, but this was that motel where we're like, what's with all the mattresses?
Oh,
it was like all the mattresses up against the wall and stuff like that. It was like this weird abandoned motel that just had a lot of mattresses.
Yes, I remember that.
Episode 8, Very Supernatural Christmas in Ypsilanti, Michigan, with a flashback into Broken Bow, Nebraska. For the kids' flashback.
Yeah.
The no name on the Ypsilanti, Michigan motel, but they were in the Kincaid room, and it had that painting, that bright painting. And I read, and I think you mentioned this on the podcast, but I didn't know this, that Jared was in a movie about Kincaid the painter, and so it was
it was called like a Kincaid Christmas or something. I believe it was a Hallmark Christmas movie or something along those lines.
So they did a little. I don't know if it was a shout out or an homage or more just a poke
or a foreshadowing. Even I'm not sure, but
right. The motel that the young brothers were in was the Cicero Pines again. Cicero Pines Motel, when they did the gift exchange as little kids when they were waiting for dad to come back. So episode 9, Malleus Maleficorum. I don't have a location. I couldn't find one. But they were in the Conquistador Motel.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was all orange. There was like bullfighting paintings on the wall, and it was supposed to be kind of Mediterranean, which
See, and I remember, and I don't remember if I mentioned this on that episode, apparently it was inspired by the lyrics of some song. Either the song was called Conquistador or the band was called Conquistador, and I don't remember. But it really had nothing to do with the episode itself. Or
right, with what they were doing.
It was mostly just like, ooh, we really like this song, and it has like good imagery in the lyrics. Let's just do that. Fine. It was a beautiful motel room.
That's pretty funny.
But not not like the one episode where you said like, oh, it's Sam, like he's about to like break the bubble of his, it wasn't anything like that. It was like, we like this song.
Make it orange.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you're allowed to do that too. So episode 10, Dream a Little Dream. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They were in the Aviary Hotel, and that was the one with like all the blue birds and peacocks and stuff on the wall. Everything was blue and silver. The carpet was like green shag carpet, like bright green shag carpet.
Yeah, I loved that hotel.
That was a really pretty room. 11, the Mystery Spot in Broward County, Florida. The Flamingo de Palms, obviously, is the one with all the flamingos everywhere. They were also at the Bounty Inn. Well, Sam later in the episode is at the Bounty Inn.
In his alternate reality.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where the deer head makes an appearance. What did I just do? Mystery Spot. Okay, I jumped out of order, so I've got arrows all over my page. Juice and Bello, episode 12. They were in Monument, Colorado.
Right.
They stayed at the Wagon Trail Motel. I loved this motel because there was like cowboy room dividers. There were horses. There was like a tree branch in the room. It was like very rustic, very cowboy. 13, Ghost Facers. I want to say Wisconsin because I remember we talked about this because there was no Chiron. We were looking at their license plates. Yeah, it was like the license plates. Yeah. Yep. So their license, I want to say Wisconsin.
Okay.
But the home that they were talking about, the Morton home, the haunted home, is in Webster Springs, West Virginia.
Oh, Jesus. That's far.
Yeah. So I'm confused about that.
Right.
But in the Morton home, the deer head came back.
We should keep a tally of things like that. It's like how often the Starburst and the Deerhead show up. That'll be for our next wrap up.
Oh God, how many times?
We'll keep that tally. Yeah.
All right. 14, Long Distance Call is in Milan, Ohio. Oh, wait.
Milan. It's Milan, Ohio.
I knew I was going to say it wrong. Because I'm right.
No, you say it right.
They were staying at the Starburst Motel. And if you can take a guess, what was the decoration?
The Deerhead?
It was Starburst. Yeah, it was like total 50s style. There was Starburst everywhere. The furniture, like the oven was from the 50s. The tabletop with the countertop was like Formica. It was a very 50s.
Yeah, that's the one I remember. The bedspread had those like groovy O's on it.
Yeah.
And I had read that it's like, it's O for Ohio. So you never really know where the inspiration for these motel rooms is going to come from. I guess is the theme.
It's like shake, 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 shake.
Yes, yeah,
Yahtzee. Episode 15. Time is on my side. Couple of places: Pennsylvania and Langen, Vermont. Bella was in Vermont. The boys
because that's where it was just like he drove like 12 hours or something to go get this information.
Yes, exactly. And they were at the Erie Motel. I don't remember anything about that motel other than I was like, oh, it's the name Erie. And then inside it was just like a regular motel.
Yeah,
it was
I think that was one of the blander ones.
Yeah, it was like cream sheets, a wooden floor, a round wooden table. It wasn't even like, it wasn't woodsy. It wasn't stereotypical. It was just a hotel room. And hers was too. Hers was nicer, but nothing to write home about. Kind of normal is what I wrote down.
Yeah. But it 16, it was room like 15, right? They had, I think in the later episodes, they started like with the motel rooms. It was always the number
matching the episode.
Of the episode.
Juice and Bello, they were in room 12, which was episode 12.
Yeah, but I think there was a second one. I do make it's like, I remember you noticed it, and then I noticed it for another episode. I can't remember which one it was, but
I'm always looking for.
It happened at least twice.
Okay, because I'm always looking for whether it's the Shining room or if it's somebody's birthday room, and then sometimes it's nothing, and I'm like, what? They got me researching something, and it's nothing. All right, so final episode 16, No Rest for the Wicked, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but also New Harmony, Indiana. No motel. Now, they were in different houses because they were in that Shishi neighborhood, and in those that people's house, where they almost killed the daughter because they thought that Lilith was in the daughter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they were there, but then they were weren't they also in Bobby's house?
They were.
Yeah. So, no motel. So there you go. Those are our locations for season 3. Wow.
There was a lot of East Coast stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of East Coast stuff. There's like only a couple. There's Colorado, Wisconsin.
Yep.
South Dakota, that's middle, but a lot of it was East Coast, or at least
Yep. Florida, Massachusetts, New York, Ohio, New York,
the Indiana, Ohio part of the Midwest, which I'm not quite sure why they call themselves the Midwest, but it's fine, whatever.
Well, as soon as we find out why it's Milan, we'll find out why.
Milan, Ohio.
Yeah. So those were my. That is my input. That is my.
Love it. It's a nice little road trip.
Yeah.
I was kind of, I don't know if you saw me, I was kind of like trying to picture.
I know. I was like, are you following?
Their little things. I was like, yeah, a little bit. It's like, they went all the way over there. Oh, they went all the way to Florida. Florida was like the wild card of that.
And that must have been like the drive from hell.
Oh my God.
State never ends. I do love that when we first started talking about what are we going to do with the podcast, one of the things we said we were going to try to do was map, like red string, all of their
we
travels.
haven't done that.
We don't have to do that because other people have done it.
That's
and
true.
So what we can do is we can pull that up and look at it and go, I am so glad we're not doing that because
right. It's a mess.
It's a mess. So thank you to the fans who took the
Right.
time to do it.
Particularly in the first season when there's like made up towns, so it's like, okay, I guess
It's
we'll
like,
just...
where do we go from here? Yeah, yeah. And in this season, there weren't as many personal for us connections to their locations.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to do any fun little anecdotes.
Right. Right.
But that's
I
okay.
haven't been to like Indiana very much.
If I have, it's just literally passing.
Driving through. Exactly.
Driving through. Yep. So that's all I got for season 3.
That pretty much like wraps up season 3, right?
But I wanted to ask, bye. I wanted to ask you though, since we are at the end of season 3, if you had like any favorite, I'm not going to say episodes, but did you have any favorite moments or stories or anything favorite?
Okay, I
don't mean to put you on the spot for it.
No, it's okay. There are 3 for me. Okay. And I can kind of basically pinpoint episodes here. The first 2 are... they're silly. It's Bad Day at Black Rock and Mystery Spot, because those are like the most standout comedic ones for me. Yeah. And they are kind of in that supernatural legend, Yes. The I lost my shoe moment. That's where Sam really gets to shine as a comedic character. Right. And I like when he gets to do something a little bit different, because Sam is always like the he's got to be the serious guy. He's got to be the straight-laced guy. He's got to be the good guy. He's got to be the, Dean always gets the good, juicy comedic moments. And he's really, Jensen is really, really good at them. But it is nice to just see a different side of Jared Padalecki every now and then. Yes. And because they were so different than the ones that have been up to that point, just that's really where I think all of the faults of the season that the writers would tell themselves is like, oh my God, there's so much going on in real life. I don't know really what to do. Yeah. I think these kinds of episodes they gave a little bit more liberty, to like, let's just, fuck it. Let's just do something crazy. Right. And those are the ones that are the most memorable. And number 3 is the ending, is the fact that they sent Dean to hell, which is like it wasn't the expected thing to happen, right? You expect the brother, especially the way they lead up to it. It's like, something is going to happen. We're totally going to figure this out. We're going to fix this. And then they don't fix it. And Dean goes to hell. And it's sad. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But, and it's frightening because you actually see him there. It's not just like, oh, he's gone. Maybe he's not in hell. It's like, no, he is. He is definitely
and that really leaves you as to like, oh my God, how are they going to get out of this?
How do you get him back from being chained like meat?
Even in watching it in a streaming situation where you can watch the next episode right away, it's still just like, what? He sent him to hell? Are you kidding me?
Right?
Because then you immediately need to know what they did to fix that. So those are my top 3 moments / they kind of coincide with episodes, but those are mine.
What are yours? I have 2 of your 3 are exactly the same.
Okay.
Mystery Spot. Bad Day at Black Rock, Lost My Shoe, classic canon, obviously. Mystery Spot for me, the death sequence that ends with "Does this taco taste funny?"
Oh yeah,
literally had me like burst out laughing. Out of all of those deaths, does this taco taste funny to you? Literally had me. But for me, a more poignant moment, one of my favorite moments, is when Dean meets Ben, and has you first see the flicker of could Ben be mine? Yeah. And so there's a couple of moments of Dean and Ben together that it shows you a bigger character of Dean. That as much as he doesn't like children, that he does have the capacity to be into something other than women, you know?
Yeah. And it's also kind of like the consequences of his actions, right? It's like, oh, you know, all the sleeping around, I guess, probably could result in a pregnancy.
Yeah. And not only that, but look at how cool this kid is.
Yeah.
You know, Ben was a good kid, you know, and Lisa's a good mom. Mm-hmm. So it was just a glimpse of the life that he could have had. But there's just when he first makes a small connection to Ben, and not the comic moment where he does like the sex math, which is hysterical. But there's just like certain looks and there's just certain moments that to me was like a big, one of my favorite moments was him being like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously bigger emotional moments and there's bigger, funnier moments. There's bigger, more painful moments, but those three kind of stuck out. Yeah. So that is my wrap up. In general, I loved season 3. Mm-hmm. I was angry at a lot of it. But still, as much as I liked it, I'm not cheering as much as I did at the end of season 1, where I was like, oh my god, what's next? What's next? At the end of this one, I was like, oh my god, not what's next, but we have to help Dean.
Yeah. There's like both had senses of urgency, but a different kind of urgency.
Yeah,
I think is how I would feel.
So I enjoyed season 3. I'm very disappointed that it got interrupted by the writer's strike.
The writer's strike and all of the other things, because you never know like what could have been. But at the same time, it is nice to know the background, you know, like what's going on behind the scenes. Because then you can say like, there really is something off about this. And then you look at what's going on and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I like to know behind the scenes stuff, because personal lives make a difference, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, the personal touches, you know, the fact that they can, you know, poke at each other or they can lift each other up based on, you know, past work or future work, you know, they do that on this show. I don't know if they do it on all shows, but you know, you work together long enough, you develop a sense of family. And it shows. Indeed. the little things. I mean, even if it's just something stupid like a pineapple in every scene, you know, or in every, you know, in Seinfeld there was a Superman in every episode.
Oh, really?
There was a Superman, whether it was like a magnet or a figurine or something. There was a Superman in every episode. Cute. On Psych, there was a pineapple in every episode.
Yeah.
You know,
those little things make it fun. It's that way with live theater too. You know, you kind of develop these weird inside jokes of things.
We had one of my opera companies had a stuffed chicken as their mascot.
Yeah.
And they would, every opening night, the technical director would hide the chicken on the set. And as cast members, we got to look for where's the chicken. It was never done in a way that would, you know, the audience would be like, what the hell is there a chicken doing on stage? It was always hidden in a place that only either someone on stage or someone backstage would notice it.
Anyway, season 3.
Go away. Season 3. Wrapped. Done.
Wrapped it up.
Can't wait to see.
Put it in a box. We'll salt and burn it. And then it's there. Yeah, can't wait to see season 4 because we have not seen any of the episodes of season 4 yet. What's going to happen?
I can't wait to find out.
It's such a surprise. I'm going to wrap this up because we're both a little slap happy, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so that is our season 3 wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we must thank you profusely for your patience during this time. There will be some hiccups in the future. I can't tell you when or if we will be skipping things. I can tell you it will not be as long of a skip as this past few weeks have been because we did pre-record some things. So we do have some things in the can that we can, you know, put in on schedule. Yeah.
Share with you.
Yeah.
Present to you.
Imagine that, you know, post-pandemic, like life just got fully booked again.
I like that you're saying post-pandemic when you were like brought down by the pandemic.
That's true. I was brought down by the pandemic. But the world is now just like, pandemic is behind us. Let's just keep going.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's book everything on top of each other. Wait, here we go.
Yeah.
Pandemic's over. Now we get to deal with colds.
Still feeling a little bit of long COVID, as you can hear from the octave lower that my voice is very naturally. Okay, so we will see you next time. I'm not even going to promise when that will be, but next time for season 4, episode 1. It's very exciting. This is going to be a great season. You can already tell from the first few episodes that we've watched so far. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us. Please feel free to follow us on social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. Also, feel free to give us a nice review and rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps a lot. You can follow us on there. You can follow us on Spotify or anywhere that you can listen to podcasts, and it would be awesome.
And also YouTube.
Yes, we are on the YouTube. And we have some nice little shorts going on there. Thank you, Valerie.
You're welcome.
It's very lovely. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week for the start of season 4. Bye.
Bye.